Hey guys, Miss Buddha here. This is the review for your quiz number 10. That's on Friday, March 25th. The quiz opens at 8 a.m., closes at 4 p.m., and many of you are not being consistent with your 10 lessons for the week, so make sure you're doing that. The last two grades I'll be putting in for quarter 3 is this quiz and your 10 lessons. So then quarter 4 starts fresh next week. So make sure you are following along with the review here. Do your best on the quiz. And again, I can't emphasize enough to complete those 10 lessons. So this quiz is on segments and angles. So the first few questions are classifying each figure as a line, ray, or line segment, then show how to write it. So you should know the difference, hopefully, between a ray, a line segment, and a line. A ray has one endpoint and goes forever in one direction. So that first example there, A is a ray. You name it by the endpoint first. So you have to name it with FE and put the little ray notation above it, arrow going in one direction. B is a line segment. It has two endpoints, so you can say line segment CD, or you could also say line segment DC. And finally, C, since there are arrows on both ends, that makes it a line, and you can call it line AB or line BA. So those last two you can reverse. The second question is going to ask you to match definitions and words together. So you need to know the following highlighted yellow geometry terms. So it says an angle is formed by two rays that have exactly the same endpoint. So you should know what an angle looks like. A circle is a set of all points in a plane that lie the same distance from a single point in the plane. Perpendicular lines are intersecting lines that form right angles. Parallel lines, they belong to the same plane, but they never intersect. A line segment consists of two endpoints and all the points in between. Congruent means having the exact same shape and size. Collinear means they're on the same line, and coplanar means they're on the same plane. So you will need to match up some definitions and words there. And then it goes into a little Pythagorean theorem. This is a right triangle. The one across from the right angle is always the C value in a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So C is always the hypotenuse. So these legs are what the A and B values are. So we could substitute those in and say 5 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared, or in this case x. Square the numbers, so this is 25 and 144. Then you're going to add the two numbers together. So this ends up being 169 equals c squared. And finally, you have to unsquare it. So you square root both sides. And if you know that square root, or you can type it in the calculator, c is approximately 13. So this side is 13. And it's always the longest side on a right triangle. Similarly, we're going to apply Pythagorean theorem to this bottom example, but this time we're missing one of the legs. So again, the longest side, this is going to be C, this could be A, and this could be B. So we're going to say 9 squared plus B squared equals 13 squared. So we already squared 13 is 169, 9 squared is 81. Now we need to solve for B. So we're going to subtract 81 first from both sides. And we'll get B squared is equal to 88. And we have to square root the 88. And it says round to the nearest hundredth. So if I type the square root of 88 on my calculator, I get about 9.38 to the nearest hundredth. So hundredth has 2 digits after the decimal point. Okay, so that's finding side lengths on a right triangle. Use Pythagorean theorem. Next up, we have the midpoint of a line segment. So the midpoint formula states that if you add your x values, you can divide those by 2. and then add the y values and divide those by 2. So this is how you find the midpoint. So my x values up here, this is like x1 and x2. And the second value is y1 and y2. So to find the x values, we're going to take -4 plus a -8, which ends up being -12 over 2, which is -6. And then my y values were -1 plus a 7 all over 2, so that's 6 over 2 or 3. So the midpoint is -6, 3. And you could verify that on the graph if you actually look at some dash marks there. It should line up as the center point of that segment. Next up, you have angles. It says name the vertex. So the vertex is the endpoint right here. So the vertex is M. Write 2 other names for angle QMP. So if I highlight that here, QMP is this angle right here. So I could call that angle 2. Or I could go and write the angles in reverse. So instead of QMP, I could say PMQ. What you can't say though is angle M, because you have 2 angles. Technically, angle 1 and 2 are both at angle M. So just name your 3 letters in the backwards order or just by the number. Name the sides of angle 1. So these are 2 rays that make up angle 1. So starting with M, it's ray MN and also ray MQ. So notice the vertex point is named first, and then it goes through the second letter where the arrows are going. In the figure below, angle 1 is 36, so it's helpful to label that. QPS, which is the entire angle. So angle QPS, the whole thing, is 73 degrees. So you need to find missing angle number 2. So you should clearly see that if you add angle 1 to angle 2, you're going to get the whole angle of 73 degrees. Well, we already know angle 1 is 36, so we're trying to find out what angle 2 is to get 73. So you would just have to subtract 36 away from 73, and you'd get angle 2 is 37 degrees. And you can double check 37 plus 36, that does equal 73. All right, an angle measures 42 degrees. What's the complement? So complement means 2 angles that add up to 90 degrees. So to find the complement, we're going to take 90 minus 42, and we end up getting with 48 degrees, so that's the complement. Supplement means 2 angles that add up to 180 degrees. So we're going to take 180 and subtract 148, which ends up being 32 degrees. So complement is 90, supplement is 180. In the figure below, we know that the ABD is 65. So the whole thing is 65 degrees. Angle 1 is 4 times the size of angle 2. So if we call this x, angle 1 is going to be 4x, 4 times as large. So we can set up an equation. 4x plus x equals 65. 4x plus 1x ends up being 5x's equals 65. So to solve that, we're going to divide both sides by a 5. And x equals 13, which means angle 2 is 13, but at once, oh yeah, I guess does want angle 2. If you needed to find the other angle, you would take 13 times 4, and this one would be 52 degrees. And you could double check 13 plus 52 does equal 65, which is the whole thing. And lastly, if you have two intersecting lines, they give you the angle 4 is 98 degrees, and you have to find all the rest. So the one directly across from it, these are called vertical angles, so they're also congruent. They're the same, 98. 1 and 4 are on a line, so we could take 180 minus 98 to find this measure. So I did 180, subtract 98, so angle 1 is 82 degrees, and the one across from it is also 82. These four angles, if you double check, need to add up to 360, which they do. Okay, so that's the end of the video. Like I said, go make sure you do your 10 lessons for the week and complete the quiz by 4 p.m. Thank you.